So it appears another one of the Upton Park era players is heading for the exit. That's how it feels at the moment. It's not 100% confirmed it's going to be happening, but it really is looking that way, isn't it? Michail Antonio, his future has been so shrouded in mystery, isn't it, in terms of what's been going on with him. He was close to leaving last season. There was January he was close to wanting to go. There's talk about Wolves that were after him. I believe they actually still hold an interest in the player. He's also got a situation going on, I believe, in his private life, which is possibly going to be forcing his hand a little bit, or maybe making him want to change and have a bit of a fresh start. But now the big one is that the Saudi League, a club from there, the one that Steven Gerrard manages, the one that Jordan Henderson is joining, are very keen on Michail Antonio. Now, we've had an update from XWH employee on this, okay? And bearing in mind, this is a little while ago. This is quite a few days ago, this update. But it still stands, you know, as far as I understand. Nothing else has changed for the moment. The club, where X has approached them, have denied it, denied that there's talks going on, denied that there's an agreement in place. However, what is interesting is that the club will not deny the fact that they are interested in selling Michail Antonio. So they are open to the sale. I get it. I do get it. As a business, totally makes sense. Michail Antonio's got 1 year left on his current contract. 1 year left. I believe, hang on. He's got 1 year left in his contract, but as I understand it, X is saying that there is an option to extend. So effectively 2 years. But he's a player that wants to leave. We've known this for quite a while. He fancies a change. I don't blame him. I really don't. He's been here a long time, Michail Antonio. He had a brilliant career at West Ham. One of my favourite players, really. Frustrating at times, yes, but also brilliant at times. He really has been brilliant for West Ham. And I totally get why he would be thinking, I fancy a change. Coming towards the end of my career. 33 years old now. I mean, he's done it. He's just lifted a trophy, West Ham. What a great way to finish. And then seeks a new challenge. And let's be honest, if he's going to Saudi, earn a few bob. I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all. I really don't. As I've said, the club are open to listening to offers to him. And they will, and I think they are open to the sale of Saudi. I get it. And as a business point of view, you've got a player that's 33 years old. He's not going to sign a new contract. It's a good time to sell now anyway. This is a prime time, a couple of years to go. You're thinking this is a good time. And then you've got the Saudi league interest, which is, you know, that you can inflate the price effectively. We could say, well, actually, we want 10 million for him. I'm not saying we'll get 10 million, but you could probably get something close to it. And well, that's a great deal for West Ham. As I'm talking as a business here, as a general, if you're sitting in the board of directors, you go, that makes a lot of sense. However, my thoughts are on this, right? That I am worried though. That I am concerned. But the reason I'm concerned is when you cast your mind back to last season, when we had this whole change of system, West Ham are going to change, we brought in Scamacca, we're going to be more possession-based, blah, 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 blah. And it bloody failed miserably. And then David Moyes had to revert back to his old system of the counter-attack football. And let's be honest, that's what saved us. And that's what won us our trophy, that counter-attack football. The final, we sat back for the majority of the game and caught them on the counter. That's how West Ham play. Michail Antonio is one of the most important players of that system. He is, I mean, without Michail Antonio last season and his fitness, which was fantastic, and it has been, isn't it, for about 2 years, I don't think we'd have won that trophy. I don't think we'd have done as well. And possibly we'd have struggled to stay in the league. He's a vitally important player for that system. So while I understand the sale, and while I get the club are going, yeah, that's what we want to do. And I get it. I think, yeah, let's change things up. I'm concerned that we're going to go into another season. All I'm saying is, let's just imagine if history repeats itself next season, or this season even, where we start with this new system, this new approach. It doesn't work. We're struggling. And then Moyes is thinking, I need to go back to plan B. I need to go back to what I'm good at, counter-attack. And we haven't got Antonio anymore. You've got Scamacca standing up there going, well, I don't do that. That's what worries me. That is my big concern with it. So really, if you're going to let Antonio go, you've got to have a like-for-like replacement, effectively, that's going to be able to do the job that Antonio does, bully, run the channels, hold the ball up, and be a menace. Because let's be honest, Michail Antonio today is an incredibly good striker. He calls his defenders, and he's a nightmare. He's a nightmare to mark, a nightmare to play against. I bet you come off that pitch battered and bruised after playing with Antonio, playing against him even. And that's what we're going to need. Now, Mubama, I've really got a lot of faith in the lad. I really do. But he's young. He's 18. It's a lot to ask a lad, isn't it? Next season. Imagine if, let's just say, if my scenario played out, that we were just saying that it didn't work, and then you've got Skamaka go, well, I don't do that. You've then got to go to Mubama. Go on, Mubama. You're going to be our main striker for next season. I mean, an amazing opportunity. But it's not really ideal, is it? Not ideal. We don't really put in the pressure on a young lad and say, like, you're our main striker now. So I have got my concerns about it. My second concerns are the obvious one that's screaming out, well, what the bloody hell are we going to do? Because we haven't got any signings. We're not bringing anybody in yet. We are, but I don't think he's selling players. We're talking about selling Creswell. You know, to talk about Fornals possibly going to Real Betis. I don't want to keep letting go of footballers without letting, having replacements lined up. I'm not saying West Ham is sitting back and just selling players and then wondering what to do. I'm sure that we are working hard. I'm confident it's going to be a good summer. But at the moment, I'm struggling to get excited about the sale of Antonio because I don't know who we're bringing in. We haven't really been linked with many strikers, really. We've had a couple of links, but they're all quite loose. We haven't had any sort of concrete, that player's coming to West Ham, and we all go, he's exactly like Antonio. You can see what we're doing. We're going to upgrade. We're going for a newer model, a new, Antonio Mark II. But that's not happening. So that's worrying me now. That's my only gripe with this and one big concern. But on the other flip side of this, it makes sense, doesn't it? Antonio's not getting any younger. He's 33. He wants to go as well. I've always stood by this. I've stood by it with Declan Rice. I stand by it with any player. I'd stand by it if we had Messi at the club. If you've got a player that doesn't want to be at West Ham, you've got to get rid of them. You don't want Antonio rocking up to work not wanting to be at West Ham because it will just cause an atmosphere. And I don't think it's fair on the player, really, either. I don't think it's fair. I appreciate people saying, we signed a contract and all that. And I get that. But I don't think it's great all round if you're keeping people that don't want to be there. I think that's a problem. I think you need to do something about it. Now, if the case is that Antonio wants to leave, I think that's quite evident. We've known it from last season. He wanted to move, and it's understood that that's how he feels now. Then the Saudi route is the best route for West Ham because it's how we're going to recoup most money, and we want to recoup most money because we need to go and then reinvest it in another striker. But then, as I say, I do have my concerns a little bit. So my final thought on it is, if West Ham United are going to sell Michail Antonio, fine, okay, no problem. But bloody hell, they have got to get the replacement right.